The Hat Tricks have completed their 9-point weekend against HC Venom and now have a 4-game win streak, their longest of the season, as they're back at the Danbury Ice Arena to prepare to host the Dashers Hockey Club for the first time this weekend. I'm Wyatt Kopelman, joined by Hat Tricks General Manager Matt Voity, as we're delighted to have you aboard here on episode 15 of Hat Tricks Weekly. Matt, how are you after the 9-point weekend?
Pretty good. It's any 3-3 is tough against anybody in the league, and I think when you come out of it and you have all the points that you could possibly get, you're feeling pretty good.
You mentioned how tough it can be to take down any team 3 times in a weekend in this league. What are some of the biggest things you appreciated seeing from this club from Friday through Sunday?
I think we played at a high level throughout. I think, obviously Saturday night, the boys sticking up for Johnny, I think was big. I think Saturday night we were fighting it, and I think we were able to get contributions from guys up and down the lineup as the game went on. I think we got better, a little bit better as the game went on. I think we were able to tap into some of that character that we've talked about that we're going to need on the back end of some of these long, whether they're a 3-3 or a long road trip or a tough road trip, being able to kind of tap into that character that we're gonna need to go to where we want to go.
Contributions were up and down the lineup from the team this weekend. It was a hat trick for Gleb Van Durken, his first of his career and this team's first of the season. How exciting was it to see that in the team's season-high 10 goals on Saturday?
I think it's great to see. Gleb's worked hard. He's been really good from the beginning. Obviously, every player has peaks and valleys, and he went through a little bit of a valley, and now he's kind of back at a peak. And, I think it's good to see. I don't think we had a big lead and we didn't let up maybe as much as we had in the past. I think we probably need to clean some things up, and some of that was just the emotion of the game. So I think we did improve in that area. I think the power play being a little more opportunistic was really good to see as well.
What kind of scoring chances did you see on the power play as it finished the weekend with 10?
I think we weren't trying so hard. I think sometimes when you get, any team with skilled players, you get them on the power play, they want to make the perfect player. They want to make the perfect shot. And I think sometimes it gets overthought. I don't think we were overthinking it. I think we were able to read what they were giving us. And I think, we moved the puck a little quicker than we had in the past, and I think it paid off.
Something that I remember you and I talked about a lot as the holidays passed and, of course, the first half of the season began to wrap up was playing consistently with a ton of physicality for 60 minutes. Did you get the sense that physicality was something at the forefront or that contributed to a lot of these wins this weekend?
Oh, yeah. I think, we showed a clip this morning after Hudson Valley's first goal on Sunday, and I think we came out and had about 5 hits on the shift after. And, I think it's a mentality, the one thing with this group, they're willing to do whatever it takes to win. And, where we weren't hitting as much early on, we made some roster moves. But I think some of these guys are seeing, through what we've done in practice, if you take the body and you're dictating that, it makes things a little bit easier. It makes things a little bit more fun. You're going to take some more hits maybe, but, I think you're going to create a little bit more space for yourself.
Charlie Bedard, speaking of physicality, he dropped the mitts against Lester Brown of HC Venom. And I remember from what I talked to Gonzo on Saturday about after the game was Charlie didn't even know who had hit Johnny, but he went after he just went after somebody. And I think for what at least it seemed like it really gave the team a spark it needed to finish the game. How much do you think that set the tone for the rest of the weekend?
Oh, it's big. You just saw the Buffalo Sabres go through something like this with Tage Thompson, and nobody responded, and they had to have a big team meeting on Monday. And, you don't want to be in that position where it's like, should we? I think I told these guys the mentality is just green light. Go. Someone hits your teammate, someone hits your goalie, go. Don't worry about me yelling at you. There's very few instances where we're not going in that situation. And Betsy just grabbing a guy and going, that's what we want. That's, we talk about family and brotherhood, and that's exactly what you do. And when you have a family and brotherhood, you grab a guy and you let him know. Now, would it have been nice for him to grab the guy who hit him? Yes. But still, just that instinct to go grab someone, that's fine. That's what we want.
It's certainly helping this team, I think, establish a lot of physicality out of the gates. I know early on you talked about how this team can ill afford to just kind of be a bag in the wind and wait for something to happen, especially with the scoring chances and even just making the presence felt on the boards and establishing a lot of physicality early. I also want to go into, speaking of scoring chances, Corey Anderson's performance on Sunday, because he got a jump start on celebrating his 31st birthday, which he had on Monday. He had 2 goals for the first time this season, and he had the game-winning goal, including the 4th goal of the game as well, that helped spark that comeback. What did you see out of him on the ice at HC Venom?
I think his legs, his wheels are really going. Whether it's, I noticed it this week, even last week, was on the back check, like he's catching up to the play and getting back into the play much better than he had a couple months ago. He's driving the net with a purpose. He's got a stick on the ice looking for the puck. I think the 2nd goal he got might have been, I think it was that play. I know it was on the power play, but still, just the concept and the principles being executed. Like he's ramping up here at the right time of the season for us. So it's really great to see.
How vital has his leadership been in the locker room as he makes his 2nd stint here in Danbury?
I think it's huge. I think he plays with a lot of character and he could be kind of cocky and he could be this and that, but he's not. He's humble. He works hard. He holds himself accountable. He holds his teammates accountable, and he plays Danbury hockey, to be honest.
You mentioned the importance of accountability, and especially how it can resonate from somebody like that who's in his 3rd season with the hat tricks, now in his 2nd stint. When you look at this team and the success of it's had as of late, it has a 7-game point streak going into this weekend, 4 wins in a row for the first time this season. How important is it for this team to stay focused and take games one at a time as it tries to pick up 6 points this weekend?
I think that's the name of the game, and that's definitely one of the challenges mentally, that especially this time of year, like you're into February, you kind of start to realize, wow, like, okay, we're kind of on the back half here, and playoffs are coming, the weather's getting warmer. Obviously not this week, but it will be. It's easy just to get overwhelmed. Like I think we have, we've got Danville, then we got a 3-3 again, which is a crazy 3-3. I think we played Port 6 times.
5 times in the next 9.
Times in the next 9 games. Yeah. And those are big. Like we just have to take it one at a time. Take care of the shift in front of us, take care of the period in front of us, and that'll take care of the game. And, we're kind of into the dog days of the hockey season, and that's the challenge, is to, it's kind of like, okay, playoffs are coming, and you kind of get that kind of feeling going on. We just need to understand, if we take care of the shift in front of us and take care of the business at hand in front of us, we're going to be where we want to be when the weather gets warmer.
And as you talk about the importance of avoiding complacency at this time of the season, what other adjustments, at least in the short term, do you think this team can make, as it has some really important games against Port after this weekend?
I think a lot of our details, I think it's, that time of the year where you can kind of maybe start to take some things for granted, and, some things might start to suffer. And the message this week has just been, hey, let's dial in on the details, even if it's a small detail, and hold ourselves accountable to that, and in all phases of the game, to be honest.
I know that the penalty kill is something that is still to be addressed upon. What are you doing in practice this week to try and find ways to improve in the coming games?
I think, just identifying, it's gotten better to the point where I think our structure's there. It's just kind of like a detail here and a detail there, and it's going to come. We're going to go on a run with it soon. We just got to keep working at it, keep chipping away at it, and to be honest, we need to be a little more disciplined with our, when we do take penalties, and the kinds of penalties that we do take.
Justin Movali is a defensive addition for this team, and then speaking of which, with HC Venom, Josh Newberg comes in. What kind of impact have they had early on in these first few games they've been here?
Well, I think Mo brings a lot of physicality. He's just a simple stay-at-home defenseman, doesn't put himself in bad spots. You know, Bergie's been around for a while. He's a good vet. You know, he can play center. He can play D. He's willing to be physical. Again, doesn't put himself in any bad positions for the most part. You know, he's a guy that, you know, guys understand he's been around, and, you know, they're going to listen to if he does have something to say.
When you get into these dog days of the season, especially as you consider the experience this team continues to add with its individual roster additions, how do you believe these kinds of guys, Bergie, as you mentioned, can help keep everybody focused down into the second half of the season here?
You know, it's kind of, I think when you bring in guys who have a little bit of edge and, you know, are willing to block shots and sacrifice their body, it always gets the group up, right? And I think when you're kind of in that fatigue mode, or not fatigue mode, but like you're kind of, you know, that time of the year where you could plateau, having guys willing to make plays like that, physical plays, always gets the boys up, and I think it helps. It helps with the energy and the mental energy, and, you know, it's really not even the physicality of the guys, it's the character. Are they able to do things, the hard things, when they're tired, when they maybe don't feel as fresh or, you know, as 100% as they did a couple months ago?
I know this team has won 9 of its last 11 games here on home ice, and it was a little bit more of a struggle to win here at home consistently early on in the season. How much do you think the home ice advantage that this team gets in the second half of the season can help make that playoff push as it goes for the 2 seed here?
Oh, I think it could be huge. You know, the way our schedule falls, I think we're at home a little bit more the next 2.5 months. I mean, just not having to get in a bus and go somewhere is huge. You know, I mean,
fancy another trip to Watertown?
Oh man, it's just that alone, being able to sleep in your own bed, and then, you know, obviously once this place gets going, it's a hard place to play in for anybody.
It's certainly a hard place to play in front of everybody. The Hat Tricks have 2 games against the Dashers Hockey Club this season. Are you doing anything differently to prepare for a team that you've yet to face this season as you move into the second half now?
I think we're sticking with our process, probably trying to double down on some things and, you know, clean up some things from last week. You know, obviously, you know, we're in a playoff spot. We want to start to really dial in on the things that we need to do to win playoff games.
I also wanted to ask you about Frankie McClendon and the performance that you saw from him on Sunday at HC Venom. He won in his second straight start again this season, and including a dynamic or a dominant save that he had with about 2:39 left in regulation. I mean, that was almost out of nowhere, probably one of the best saves I've seen from him this season. How do you assess the performance he gave you on Sunday?
I think it was a little bit of a struggle for him at first. It's a new rink. You know, I think there were some things, I hate to say it, before the game that didn't maybe allow him to put his best foot forward, and that's, you know, through no fault of his own. I think he battled. I think, you know, maybe when he was younger, he would have let that game turn into a more of a disaster, but he didn't. He kept fighting, kept working hard. He made a couple big saves as the game went on. He made that big one there in the third. That was huge. It just kind of a testament pretty much to his maturity, his experience, and his character.
How much have you continued to see him grow as he's now in his 10th season in the Fed?
I think he's really taken a step emotionally in his maturity, and you know, I think that's always a challenge with the ego, and I think that's always a challenge when you've had some success. But I think he's been through a lot in the last 1.5 years, and I think he's drawing on those experiences and the lessons that he's learned, and he's applying them.
Going into this weekend, the Hat Tricks, they have a chance to take 6 more points and expand their win streak to 6 games. We'll continue the tradition as always here on Hat Tricks Weekly, Matt. The Hat Tricks get those 6 points against the Dashers Hockey Club if
we execute our game and pay attention to the details.
If they pay attention to the details and execute the game for 60 minutes. Well, the Hat Tricks, they'll be tested against an unfamiliar opponent in the Dashers Hockey Club this weekend here at the Danbury Ice Arena. The Hat Tricks take on the Dashers at 7:30 p.m. on Friday, 7 o'clock on Saturday. We hope to see you there. Matt, thanks again for always swinging by.
Thanks, Wyatt.